It is a terrible thing to not have like-minded people around. It's even more so when we really know that nothing we're saying is in any way rocket science. The despair is that what the fuck is wrong with you? To other people around us. This is so damn obvious. So, there must be a cognitive dissonance and reality distortion. Look at the mass hysteria we've just experienced. This is not the Russian Bolshevik Revolution, whereas a culture was burned to the ground and confiscated and extortionized, right? This is not the reign of terror in France or other fiascos like the shootings and bombings in the city of Ireland, city of Belfast, all of those are on record. So we're dealing with historical amnesia, right? So yeah, it is a source of discontent and despair to not have people being able to rally to the flag of fucking truth. But the thing is, that despair is legitimate. You should be feeling that,
Right.
Like I've said before, if there's an injustice and there is corruption, you shouldn't fucking feel okay with it. And if you have a media that is lying to the people on an institutionalized level, but then there's silver linings. Look what Australia's just done now by giving the kick of the lifetime up the arse of Zuckerberg and social media. That's the whole country. Look what Texas, they're coming up on the thing's hardly begun, and already 40% of the Texans are going, oh, we'll succeed from the federal, we'll succeed from the union. I like the sound of that. 40%, and the thing isn't even off the ground yet.
Other states too.
And even if they don't make it. Yeah, and even if they don't make it, right, because, sabotage, right? Because the other side is not disempowered. When they see a remedy like this, I've been talking about succession from day one. My very first blog featured, the Middleton Institute and other wonderful, wonderful people in the South who were but they were immediately shadow banned and they were deplatformed, right? But I've been doing this since my first blog. That has to be over 10 years ago. Yeah, but in those days, nobody ever heard of secession. Even many patriots and people within, the alt movements, they didn't even know about that word. Now they do. So don't tell me there's no silver linings. There's several things on the horizon that are actually would never even been known to normal Republicans that are now known. So the enemy is pushed too far. Too many people are, starting to research. This lockdown has allowed people to go online and really research things and look at things more than they would have done in their daily life. You see? So although there are these terrible social changes, and they're precarious, of course. Yeah, but these are Cortezes and Schwabs are fucking lunatics, right? They are psychotics, card-carrying constitutional moral inferiors. They're the ones that want to be God. Look at this Greta Thunberg, right? They're the little tiny people, the little inferior, like Wilhelm Reich's great book, Listen, Little Man. They are the little people, right? And they want to be big. And they're puffing themselves up courtesy of politics. But once you being able to pop their balloons, and I just happen to personally think this is the way to do it, through a sort of a general psychological insight is very, very valuable. But whatever way you would do it, even just common sense, if you could see through it, it will alleviate the despair. And then tomorrow, there may be reactions amongst the conservatives. There's a lot more that could be said about that, that might even overthrow this whole nightmare, of socialism in general. Socialism right now is more precarious than you think. Just don't go by. The headlines are media generated.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's laced with fear porn as well. You don't know what's happening. Right, they're running America now with a gun to the head. Yeah, but that has been shown so many times it doesn't fucking work. Right, it doesn't work, and the guerrillas can win, and we are those guerrillas. And also, if you know that at the very base of all of their politics and ideals, it's absolute pus. If you just realize how insubstantial and contradictory it is, even the media's torrent of lies. But it's when it becomes immune. You can slap me around, but I don't feel it anymore. I've said in the end of the Atlantis book, once your enemy cannot kill you, you've won. You may not take them down, in an obvious sort of way, which is the mindset of, the solar way. But just for the fact that you've immunized yourself so that they can no longer affect you, right, in terms of consciousness, in terms of sovereignty, they have lost. You have won. So,
well, and
there definitely are silver linings.
Oh, 100% agree, and I've been echoing this as much as I can too. But think of that schoolyard bully or that punk in the street or somebody that's just trying to pick on you because they're the little man syndrome and they see you as somebody that isn't, so they just want to take you down a few notches. When they see that you're invincible to whatever they're going to try to do to you. Like, even if they do come up and start smacking you around, and you're just like, okay, whatever, what are you going to do? Kick my ass? You know, people have been trying to do that my whole life. It's nothing new. Like, like if you're just not affected by it, if they see that, they move on. They move on to easier prey. It's a mechanism in nature. And as you said in the beginning, it's the best quote of all time. It's the best quote of this year, is evil contains within it the seeds of its own destruction. Just let these fuckers fall on their own sword. They're doing an amazing job. They're the worst advertisement for themselves. But even aside from that, what you're highlighting here is really important, because even if we lived in a better situation and it was all opened up again tomorrow and everything was kind of back to normal, and even if we won a better system of freedom and the government started listening to us for once, or we did whatever we did, there's still this problem in the human psyche of dealing with trauma because we haven't listened to the right teachers. We haven't really been educated in our culture. So there would still be a ton of work to do. Even if we win the day against communism or globalism or whatever, we'd still have a lot to get through, wouldn't we? Because of this past trauma, and the fact that we've been living in this fish tank for a long time.
Yeah. And that emotional plague and that trauma is actually in our cells. So forget about politics, forget about anybody else, the world. The essence of disease is a psychosomatic issue, which we have to purge from our own being. That's what the shaman used to do with their sweat lodges. No, but that's all gone fucking south, or it's been contaminated by these idiotic new agers, right? There's still that at the base, is to rid yourself of the pestilence. And then that is the seedbed of a lot of other psychological and physical disorders and illnesses, right? So there's that. You know, I'm no fucking expert, but what I know is, you know, I know when it goes wrong. I know when people are doing it the wrong way. You know, because they're not reading the masters like Wilhelm Reich. Or right now, there's a whole school of people who are rewriting his work with their own signatures on it. Lovely, right? And that gets away, you know, from where we're at, where we need to be. What's wrong with just reading the man himself or Arthur Yanov, you know? So I'm doing the best I can. We talk about them all the time. You know, I'm not going to lose energy over it. It is, you know, the thing that goes through my mind more than any other meme is it's up to them. If somebody was able to get into my head and hear the voice going on, that's most going on since 1980, or since my research began, it's up to them. It's up to you. It's up to them. It's up to them. It's up to them. Because I can't die for you, right? That one part of me, like you just said, also would do that. You know, I've been lured down that road many times, to be lying in a heap, tied up in knots over the world not getting it. You know, but one day, ding, you know, the Tibetan bells rang. You know, and I woke up from that, because, you know, it comes with the territory. You can despair to the nth degree, you know, until you realize that's another illusion and pass through it. Everybody has absolute freedom, right? Well, yeah, but you can't violate it. All you can do is then bring them, you know, up to this point, but you can't make them drink. Now, I have an announcement. You just mentioned something that made me think, and that is, members know the premiums have been on hold, but there's a lot to come. They're starting to come out again. We've got one on... you know, we've got the 5 parts of idealism that were left over, some on tarot, one on the works of Yuri Lina, the great author, the great Russian, Swedish author, you know, who wrote Under the Sign of the Scorpion and Architects of Deception. I've got one on, you know, his work, An Introduction to World Revolution. Fascinating stuff there. So it's going to start coming out again. It's not permanently on hold anymore. We're making progress there. And there's many more. There's Catastrophism and a whole line of other ones to come. You know, Monstrous Feminine 2 and 3, Gnosticism 2 and 3. So there's at least 15 premiums already lined up, ready to go. So they're going to start coming out now in the next couple of weeks, guys. So